Hi guys, Merry Meet. This is Anastasia Autumnfire, and this is day 20 of 30 days of Samhain Crafting. Tonight I went to my secret class at the Eye of Horus. It's a local witchy shop here in the cities. We talked about the god and the goddess quite a bit tonight, and the people that are running or teaching this course kind of talked a bit about their personal practices, who they work with, things like that. And the god that they work with, or are working with currently, I should say, is Hern, which is another name for Cernunnos. So after hearing a lot about kind of their takes on him, and kind of seeing where we agreed. I can't say I disagreed with anything that they said. I found very much the same thing while working with him. But I really felt charged. I really felt like I should do something in his honor tonight with my crafting. So I thought, what better way than to make an ornament. Of course, I'm not going to use it as a straight up ornament in the traditional sense. But what better way than to make an honoring craft for Cernunnos. In this aspect of the year for Samhain, he does become he does take on his darker aspect, where he leads the wild hunt in Celtic tradition. He hunts the souls of those that have passed, and that sounds really aggressive and really dramatic. I guess it could be dramatic, but it isn't aggressive like that. It's not where he's forcing souls to come with. It's more he's guiding them or shepherding them to the underworld. I suppose if there's a soul that really doesn't want to go to the underworld or to the next realm, then I'm sure he gets pretty aggressive. It is a hunt after all, but I don't know. The energies that I've been exposed to with Cernunnos so far, he can get very determined when he's kind of trying to show you a certain path, and you keep going, well, no, and resisting and not wanting to go down there. I think that's when that hunter kind of comes out. But for all intents and purposes, he's usually very much a guiding force, a teaching force. At least with me, he's been very much kind of a nurturing and gentle force. I don't know if anyone else works with him has found that to be true, but yeah, that's kind of my take. And so I thought, because we did in class today speak a lot about the triple goddess and then the dual aspect of the god, I have heard in the past that there is a triple god aspect as well. I want to say, and I could be wrong on this, so please don't quote me or take it as gospel, because it certainly isn't. But I've heard a couple of places where we have Maiden Mother Crone for the triple goddess. The triple god is warrior, father, sage, or something along those lines. Like I said, I could be wrong in that. But there is a triple god aspect as well. Cernunnos, I've always felt is dual aspect, which is what a lot of people I've heard believe, not just of Cernunnos, but the god in the abstract as well. You have the god of the sun, who's around during the light part of the year, you know, the Oak King, and then you have the god of the underworld, or the darker god, or the Holly King, for the dark half of the year. And that is very much how I see Cernunnos. During the light half of the year, he is a god of abundance. He is god of fertility and virility. He is all about the land, nurturing it, fertilizing it, for lack of a better term. But he's all about the earth and the land, and giving us prosperity in our lives, and encouraging and nurturing with the light of the sun. So in that aspect, I have the light side of this ornament, and I've written down a little thing. As you can tell, I haven't used my burning tool all that much, so it looks a little wonky, but I kind of like it. It makes kind of like, when your first grader does a handprint. Horned God of sun and light, I honor you both day and night. Pretty easy, rhymey, but I kind of like the simplicity of it. I like the idea that, I'm just letting him know, regardless of the time of day, I honor him and pay him homage, so to speak. It's kind of odd with, it was another thing spoken about in class today, just kind of the contrast in how there are those that worship the gods on their knees and pray, and that's all well and good. I know I certainly still do that, but so much more so in pagan tradition, we don't necessarily get on our knees and bow and I don't want to say lessen ourselves, but in a way of speaking, we don't cower before our gods and goddesses. We don't lower ourselves to them. Instead, we step up. We open our arms to them. We dance around in honor of them. And I mean, the goddess image is with her hands raised up towards the moon. That's very much how I see my worship, is always looking up, always looking around, being connected. If I am doing anything with the ground, it's to grow roots, to remember my connectedness with Mother Earth and all the divinity that is within. It isn't a thing about honoring them by lowering myself, but rather honoring them by raising myself, by being a better person, by holding myself to a better standard. I don't always do that. There's a lot of times I fail on that, but hopefully I'm that's making sense. So when I say I honor you both day and night, it's not that I'm on my knees groveling by any means. It's day and night, you are present in my mind. When I feel like I need just a little bit of help, a little bit of push, you are there, you have my back. But it certainly is an empowering kind of honor, if that makes sense. So I wrote that down, and then down here I've got the horned god symbol, but I left the middle of it open. This way it represents the light. I also, the antlers I covered with my gold sealing wax, quickly becoming one of my favorite crafting items, and used some of my Cernunnos incense and dusted the antlers with that. And then I used 3 stones. For the light half of the year, I use a lot of peridot, citrine, and clear quartz to do honor to Cernunnos during the light half of the year. So I added those 3 stones. Peridot for fertility, abundance, growth, nature as a whole. Citrine, very much a stone of the sun. It also helps with prosperity, success, abundance. Also helps with energy clearing. Love citrine, I won't lie. If you suffer from nightmares, huge help, citrine. It's one of the best things I can suggest. And then clear quartz, it's the power horse when it comes to crystals. It does a little bit of everything, but I certainly do relate it to the light half of the year work that I do with Cernunnos. So then, just as we have the light, we also have the dark. And the dark side of the ornament says, "Horned God of the dark and wild, I honor you, for I am your child." Again, sounds very, nursery rhymish, but I like the simplicity of it. I do see myself as a child of Cernunnos, which is really odd if you think about it, and I kind of cringe saying that because it sounds kind of weird. I don't know how else to phrase it. As I've said in a previous video, when Cernunnos kind of came to me and revealed himself to me, I was actually really focused on finding out who my goddess was, and he's the one that answered my call. So, and he really did kind of fill this nurturing father-like role in a way, in a very odd way. He was still very much about, virility and male sexuality and things. I mean, he's very much a masculine god, and in the light half of the year, it's all about the lovin'. That's just how he is. His energies are very charged. But he also has this nurturing and meditative and patient, very, very patient side. At least with me, he does. So I do see myself, I do see him very much in kind of a fatherly role, sort of, so to speak. Again, I lined the antlers with gold sealing wax. Gold also is very much one of the colors for the god, so I liked that. And used my Cernunnos incense that I've made. Again, we have the horned god symbol, but I filled in the center. That way, that represents the dark half of the year. And then the stones I used for this are carnelian, onyx, and tiger's eye. Now, just because I'm using these crystals on the dark half of this ornament and these crystals on the light half does not mean I won't use a peridot or a citrine or a clear quartz to work with him during the dark half of the year. I use these stones all year round. It's just the carnelian, the tiger's eye, and the onyx are very much, they're darker stones. Onyx is for grounding, whereas clear quartz is for amping up. Carnelian has that fiery, warrior-like energy to it, but it's more of a grounded, like all three of these, even the tiger's eye, I just view these as very earthy, grounded stones. And I understand carnelian and tiger's eye both are not earth. They are very much about fire, but they feel right when working with the dark half of the year. I find needing those fire aspects during the dark half of the year even more so than during the light. So perhaps that's my attraction to them. Whereas, on the light half, we've got a peridot, which is earth-based. We have a citrine, which is air. And a clear quartz, I want to say that's air. I am not 100% sure, and I apologize. I know I'm usually on top of it with my correspondences. Clear quartz, for me, has become much more about spirit as of late. I know in past videos I've gone into detail how vervain connects me to spirit. Angelica root does the same. Lavender does the same. And clear quartz does that for me as well. So whenever I look at a clear quartz, that's where I go. I go to spirit as opposed to knowing its correct correspondence. So please forgive me for not knowing off the top of my head. Feel free to leave a comment saying, dingbat, it's this. But yeah, anyway, so this is my craft. By the way, I got this ornament. It was just a plain piece of wood shaped like a deer. Actually, at Michael's, they have their Halloween stuff reduced to one lane, and all their Christmas stuff is up. So this was up with their Christmas stuff, but as soon as I saw it, I'm like, I will craft something during Samhain for Cernunnos using this. And so I did. Now, I do also want to mention, I know for Samhain I've been using primarily amethyst, carnelian, and either black onyx or clear quartz. I did differ from that on this project, just because this is God focused. This is about Cernunnos. I don't feel a need to connect the elements, or I mean, I always connect the elements anyway, but I don't feel a need to bring a representation for the lady or the good folk into this. It's all about the God, and that is what it is for. So during the dark half of the year, I'm going to put this on his altar, and I'll have the dark half of the year up. And then when we get to the light half of the year and the sun resumes its power, bam, I've got the light half of the year. So yeah, so that's my little witchy craft for tonight. Again, I know it's not necessarily Samhain based, but it is something that I felt called to do. It does still relate with Samhain, because Samhain, on top of working with ancestors, working on self, and just ushering in the season, you always want to have... okay? Sorry about that. You always want to have pieces here and there that are going to help you honor the Lord and Lady, your God and Goddess, whether that be abstract, whether that be specific, whether it just be a God or Goddess you feel pulled to for that Sabbath, or perhaps one that you're working with. It never has to be a matron or a patron. I know quite a few witches that don't even go into that. They just flat out, nope, I just work in the abstract. Or there are even some witches I've heard of, I think hippie. Oh my gosh, Joanne DeVoe. There it is, Joanne DeVoe. Sorry about that, I'm just blanking. And she doesn't even necessarily believe in God or Goddess. I can't remember exactly how she views it, but I've seen that on a couple of her videos, where it's more about your inner self and energies that you use. So yeah, it's just something I feel called to do. I do have a patron. I do want to make sure that I'm honoring him, especially in this, since Samhain is a sacred time for him, as well as he takes the lead in the Celtic wild hunt. So yeah, that is my craft for the night. Sorry for the rambling. I just felt a really big surge after the class, and I'm kind of coming down off of that surge now, so things are kind of getting... I'm getting chatty. So thank you for sticking it out with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to comment, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Check me out on Facebook if you'd like, Anastasia Autumn Fire, just the way it is. I hope you guys have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow. Blessed be.